don't show, that's alright. I sit right here, kill some time. Ammoed up with a gun in my hand. Yeah, right here in my tree stand. Some would rather be laying on the beach, sailing
What is up, Hodges Outdoors? So, on this day I finally did, I had an oopsie with self-filming today. So let's just break down this hunt to its entirety. So, this was October 7th. This was the first major cold front for Ohio to come in, and it dropped like 20, almost 40 degrees. It went from 85 degrees to a high of 62. So, I typically do not hunt early October mornings. Normally I wait for the afternoon hunts and sit in the afternoons and wait for the deer to come in. On this day, since it was that 40 degree swing, I decided, you know what, I'm going to go in the morning and hunt basically all day. Do an all day sit on October 7th. Who knew? I've never sat October 7th for all day, but I was prepared. So, long story short, before even daylight, I got in at 5:30. Before even daylight came in, I had 3 does walk under me, and it was so dark that I could barely make out what they were. About 30 minutes later, 2 does ended up showing back in, and it was right at daylight. And you could tell it was dark, and the camera was trying to focus on those does coming in. So, while I'm filming them, lo and behold, that little 8-point that came in later, he was on the top side of the ridge, and he caught me moving while I was filming those does. So he blew twice, bounded off into the cornfield a little ways. Couldn't really make out what I was, but he knew something was there. So that put the does on edge, but they couldn't figure out what I was, and they were upwind of me because all my wind and thermals were hitting me in the face and going down into a ravine off to my left where none of the deer were. So they couldn't set me, but they were trying to locate where I was. So they started blowing and stomping, trying to get a reaction out of me and trying to get me to move, but I just stayed put. The little eight comes in, gets comfortable enough because the does are around me for, 30 minutes, stomping and blowing and carrying on and being dumb. He ends up getting comfortable and comes in and starts nosing them and grunting and ends up walking off and chasing the does off. So I'm like, cool, great. The does are gone. They've been chased off by the buck. I'm covered up. But the does, for whatever reason, being 2 mature does, wanted to figure out what I was and why that buck was blowing. So they come in a second time and start blowing at me and trying to figure out, stomping, whatever, and trying to figure out what I was, and couldn't figure it out, and they just kind of bound off, and I could still see them. They bound off, and I'm thinking, go away, leave me alone. That was the first time, was about 15 minutes, whatever. So they come back in for the third time, try to start circling around, try to get downwind, but I have a deep ravine on my backside, so they don't want to go into the ravine, but they kind of circle around to get to the cornfield. One doe comes within 10 yards. The other doe, the bigger doe, was staying away, but she wasn't too concerned. The medium size of the smaller of the mature does was kind of the ones that was stomping at me and carrying on. So I ended up shooting the biggest mature doe because my hunt's done with. I'm not going to shoot Slickback this day. I might as well harvest some and get some deer meat, fill up the freezer, and be good for the rest of the year and don't have to worry about chasing one particular buck. So I end up shooting the biggest of the 2 does. End up watching her going over the side of the hill, or running about 30-40 yards away, piles up. Cool. I know she's down. I seen her where she went. I'm good. So I go, might as well tag this doe in. So I'm sitting there literally tagging this in, and the doe that was trying to figure me out and stomping and carrying on and trying to get me to interact and move, she ends up coming back in. She ends up coming back in at 10 yards. Blowing and everything, or blowing, whatever, try to still figure me out. So I'm like, you know what? What's better? A second doe. So I end up shooting her. She runs off, goes around a point, and piles up over there. Lo and behold, completely my mistake. I didn't realize I missed the short stroke, the play button or the record button, whatever. I made a mistake. So I did not get the shot on the 28-yarder, and I did not get the shot of the 10-yarder. So it's my mistake. I did do the film of the recovery. great with the arrows, the blood tracking for the one doe that goes around the point. I did the recovery, and you actually did hopefully enjoy the gutting. Hopefully that helps you on processing your deer or gutting the doe. So I am sorry. I will do better. I have to hold myself accountable and do better for you guys for the next video. Then it's going to be a long haul here. We're just in the middle of October, beginning of October, and we'll do our best to get a mature buck down on camera and make sure that record button's pushed. So we'll see you soon. Hodges out. I began tracking the second doe that I shot at 10 yards. I find initially long-colored arrows, which is a good sign for the hit. I began tracking the first doe and began finding a large amount of blood with a good coloration with bubbles in it. My suspicion was corrected by going around the corner and eventually finding the second doe. Man, I love these animals. Its sacrifice will allow me to provide food for my family. I will give respect to every animal that I harvest. Alright guys, let's talk gutting. Get down and dirty. Alright. So, I have a dual knife kit here from Outdoor Edge. Again, not sponsored of them. This is the gut hook on this, and that blade is super sharp. I've had this thing, I don't know, a lot of years. So anyways, where I like to start is up by the ribs. You feel where that bottom rib is, and you insert right below it. Basically just go straight up that rib cage. Alright, once you hit that rib cage, the base of that rib cage, you can use that gut hook. So you don't puncture that stomach. And then once you get a hole, you can literally use your two fingers and unzip it. Just like so. Being very careful that you don't hit that stomach, because if you hit that stomach, that'll explode. And it's not a pretty sight. So I work up, if you get into that cartilage just right and not cut through that bone, work your way all the way up. Once that's unzipped, again, come up in here with your fingers, split your fingers apart, and just keep that blade. Oop, just hit the stomach. Just keep that blade right along that line. Stay out of the gut, stay out of the stomach. Still out some milk, because she's gonna have a yearling with her. What the hell? suck out of there. I don't know why. I would have shot her if she did. Again, say this below, use your fingers, I'll hit the guts. So once you get it split all the way down through there, the diaphragm, it splits up the guts from the lungs and the heart. You have to come on the inside, making sure you don't hit that intestine, the stomach. And you gotta cut that away. Once you get that cut away, you can come up in here, up where the esophagus is, and cut that out. Get off there. I always like to save the hearts. The heart is the best meat in a deer. Better than a tenderloin or inner loin. Once you get all that out, pull it all out. Right to that one. Alright, so I'm not going very far. So I just cut the poop chute. Sometimes if I was out west or down southern Ohio, something like that, I'd cut all that intestine out around the H-bone. Since I'm not going very far, I'm just going 20 minutes up the road, I can go with a hose and spray that off and clean it out, cut it out properly. So you can just go in here, whack it off. So, gutting a white-tailed deer 101 here. Alright guys, I find it kind of interesting to compare and contrast these two bloods and these two arrows. This is the one that I've already found that was high double lung. So that's a little bit darker, which has got me worried on the other one. I haven't found yet. It's kind of lighter, fattier, kind of coloration. Even though on the fletch, up here in the fletch, it's dark up in there, but there's no grit, there's no fat on it. So it's leading me to think that both of these are double lungs. This one might just be a little bit lower of a shot. Flip it over. Yeah, there ain't no fat on it, no grit, no stomach grit. This was a quartering away shot too, so probably went through a little bit more fat in the farther distance. So the tree standing clear up there, so we'll start tracking. It went out into the cornfield here, so we're just going to go out and see if we can pick it up on the cornfield, the blood, and then hopefully meet up with Warren with this 4-wheeler. It'll be a long drag otherwise. See you soon. Doe number 2. Lead it all. Two for 2, boys. Oh gosh. All because your friend wanted to look at me. Beautiful animal. Such a beautiful animal. Got the ear a little bit double long. It's probably entrance. Thank you. Beautiful creature. You just didn't stomp at me all morning long. How's that horse? Put him down.